Boston Cannons Game of the Week is powered by Boston Sports Performance Center, where performance has no limits. BSPC is a premier sports performance, physical therapy, and sports medicine center serving the Boston and Metro West communities.
Hi, Boston Cannons fans. Sean Quirk, head coach for the Cannons. We're going back into the vault this week in a championship game against the Philadelphia Barrage, played at Nickerson Stadium on the campus of Boston University. This game was a blast to watch, selfishly. Many of these guys that were at the peak of their careers in this game are guys that I know really well today, that are coaching, very still heavily involved in the game of lacrosse at a lot of different levels. On the Cannon side, Chris Garrity, great goalie, runs True Lacrosse National Club Program. Dave Evans, who runs Massachusetts. Bill Day, who's involved with the Boston Kings. A lot of guys still involved with the game. Certainly on the other side, Ryan Boyle, a legend, Hall of Fame player who owns Trilogy Lacrosse with former Cannons player Mitch Belisle. So this game was action-packed, goaltending on both sides. Again, I'm a goalie guy, so I really appreciated Greg Gatrano, what he did throughout his career at Brown, and then certainly in the MLL, playing for another legend, Sal Acasio, who played for a number of years in the league, and in this championship game is the head coach of the Philadelphia Barrage. So enjoy the first half. We'll see you back here at halftime to give a little bit of an analysis going into the second half.
Two young teams with a lot in common meet in Boston as Major League Lacrosse finds out who's number one. A championship moment brings out the little boy and the best of professional athletes. And one summer ago, it was Leapin' Lizards from Long Island who tasted sweet victory. But this season, Major League Lacrosse masterminds schemed a way to keep the former champs out of the playoffs. A new king will be crowned today when a campaign filled with the best of bone-jarring hits skids to the finish. Will the hero be the bravest in goal, one of the game savers with the great reflexes? Or will goal scorers rule the day and take the expressway to title-winning glory? The Major League Lacrosse Championship Trophy shines at the end of the road. Next. The city of Boston has proven itself to be a wonderful host again. Lacrosse fans are fired up for the New Balance Championship game between Philadelphia and Boston. Back on Friday in the semifinals, Boston pounded Baltimore with a brilliant first half performance. Philadelphia required overtime to down Rochester. A very pleasant welcome to you live on ESPN2. Along with Quint Kesnick, I'm Joe Beninati. Quint, we have new blood in the championship finals. The old guard's been swept away. Teams like Baltimore and Long Island are not here. Philadelphia is, and they're flying high.
What an incredible transformation they have made. 2-5 in the middle of the summer. They have reeled off 6 straight wins to get in the playoffs and then to advance to the finals. Now, the story for the Barrage has been the midfield play of Blake Miller. 46 goals this season. Think back to only 2 years ago, he had 7 goals. Blake Miller, the best midfielder in the league.
Well, Blake brings his best against Boston, and with good reason. The Cannons have a way of forcing teams into high-scoring games, and they've got the right formula to win them.
It's a very simple equation for success. It starts with face-off. Peter Inge winning 53% of the draws when they win, making saves. Garrity, 54% save percentage. Now, the key beneficiary is Connor Gill, the attackman from behind the cage, the Bud Light MVP this season. 40 assists, and when he gets it going, not only can he pass the ball, but he can turn the corner and score himself.
The Barrage were able to figure Gill out last week of the regular season. Starting lineups today are brought to you by Dick's Sporting Goods. Philadelphia's defense is led by a punisher named Nick Polanco. Head coach for the Barrage, Sal Acasio, wants this game to be extremely physical. He plans to have his guys push the limit against a Boston group that comes in with a record-setting 9 wins and a first-ever American Division title. The incomparable Michael Watson spearheads that offense. For head coach Scott Hiller, who expressed it Friday night semifinal win was nearly perfect. There are some physical problems in the lineup. Jason Chandler fills us in.
Well, Joe, Philadelphia comes in healthy. Boston has some injury questions. The most pressing, Connor Gill, injured knee. Doctors put him at about 85%. Both Michael Watson and Ryan Curtis were hit with shots in the leg in Friday's semifinal game, both with bruises. Curtis didn't practice yesterday, and Peter Inge still playing with that broken left hand. I spoke with all four before the game. Each said the same thing. No injury will keep them out of today's game.
Jason, they wouldn't miss it for the world. Quint Kesnick, why could this be a tough day for Peter Inge with that bad hand against Doug Shanahan?
You see Inge down on the clamp. He uses that left hand to push forward. The native of Adelaide, Australia. He has come from across the world to play in this game.
Philadelphia in white. Boston here on its home turf in blue. Two teams from Major League Lacrosse's American Division colliding in the championship finals. Our New Balance Championship is underway on ESPN2. Blake Miller off of a record-setting performance to the new daddy, Roy Colsey. Miller leaning in, hit up high as the Cannons' defense comes to swarm. Inge looking for the ground ball. Trying to come out of there with a one-handed scoop. He got a face full of Roy Colsey. Whistle and a push will give the ball to Philadelphia.
Major League Lacrosse, we've got a 2-point arc. It's set out at 15 yards. It's one of our rule enhancements. 45-second shot clock, and each team is limited to 3 long sticks. Those rules are meant to showcase the tremendous skills, either the finest players on the planet.
If you love goal scoring and high point total games, you've got two great teams to provide that today. A turnover and perhaps transition for Ryan Boyle. The newly minted Major League Lacrosse Rookie of the Year has been dazzling with his assists.
We always thought that the Barrage, 2 or 3 players away from being a tremendous team, and they picked up Ryan Boyle with the draft selection. Greg Catrano has been really the difference maker between the net.
Mollett to the inside. Misfired with that pass. Just a week ago, Mollett had a single game best 4 assists as Philadelphia downed Boston to get into the playoffs.
So dangerous with his split dodge where he slices from left to right or right to left. Really known for his passing skill from the midfield, more so than his shooting.
Here come the Cannons with Mike Regan in charge, a former 30-goal getter in this league. The Cannons, along the way to high-scoring numbers, have spread their offense out dramatically this season. This guy has been white hot in the last 2 weeks. Mike Batista, number 44 in blue. Working against Mollett. Wants that right-handed shot outside the arc. Tries to drop the pass inside. Blake Miller rotated defensively. And the Philadelphia Barrage come away with Ryan Moran. Blake Miller makes a nice catch in transition, then lost it on the swim move against Regan. Counterattacking, back come the Cannons in this scoreless game, 2.5 minutes old.
We spoke to both coaches yesterday. We love talking to these coaches. They really emphasize defense. It was all about team defense.
Rotelli, who was sensational in Friday's semifinal win. Good passing, and there's Dussault with a put-away.
Evans to Dussault. It starts with a little alley dodge by Rotelli. He draws the defense. Both these teams known for their passing. Look at this triangular passing. This is Evans behind the net. Inside to Dussault, the former Georgetown star, 54 goals his senior year as a Hoya.
24-year-old Steve Dussault, who is wondering whether or not he may see some time at attack during the day today with the Michael Watson ailing a bit with an ankle injury. Dussault from the midfield to strike to get the scoring underway for Boston.
Connor Gill not in the lineup right now, Joe. Interesting matchups by Philadelphia's defense. Moving Spallina around. They've matched up Polanco, the best defender in the league, against Michael Watson.
Quint, it was just a week ago at Villanova when Connor Gill sprained his MCL. Regan for 2, denied there before it ever got through to Catrano, and Kyle Sweeney comes away. But Gill missed the 4th quarter of that game and has not seen lots of time early today.
Right now he's getting his stick fixed on the sideline. Looked like he had a bent pole. He should be back in the game in a moment.
Nick Polanco on the clear for Philadelphia. Doug Shanahan has a step on his defender. Shanahan, fleet-footed, to the interior, looking for Boyle, and it got away.
Physical play inside, a loose ball push, which is not a time-serving violation. They'll just award possession here to Philadelphia.
Mike Springer, who on this field about 6 weeks ago put up 6 goals, a career best for him in professional play. Roy Colsey, always a two-point threat from outside the arc. Tries the left-hander and scores. Roy Colsey.
Wow. Scintillating shot by Colsey. Decent defense on him from down low. Take a look at the ball. It's in his cross. He gets to a nice little shooting area right here and then just singes the far corner. Boom, look at that. Impossible angle. Colsey left-handed. He's one of the oldest members of this Philadelphia team. It's amazing. They used to be such a veteran team, and now you look at Colsey at age 31, one of the true veterans.
Seasonal numbers for Roy, 25 goals on the year, and perhaps a belated birthday present for new son Ryan, who was born on Tuesday, Quint, during the Major League Lacrosse playback on ESPN2.
Colsey's consistency throughout his career, 25 goals, 26 goals, 21 goals, and then again this season. You can really count on his production.
Devastating shooter. Fiore is one tough cover from the midfield ranks, number 2 in blue. Connor Gill looking for it. Any loose change on the ground usually belongs to Ryan Spallina.
This is where there's going to be some physical play. Polanco and Spallina have come out today with a vengeance. They want to throw their bodies around.
The New Balance Championship game, a low-scoring affair thus far as we move towards the 5-minute mark. Joe Beninati, Clint Kesnick upstairs. Jason Chandler is patrolling the sidelines. Evans, a 240-pound attackman, leaning in on former Cannons captain Brian Kuzma. Spallina over to double. Polanco is a vacuum on the ground balls, and he comes up with this one to settle for Philly.
Like hockey, defensively, you want to set the tone early in the game. Slide with the body. Check hard. See what these refs will let you get away with. Both coaches feel that the referees are going to not throw any flags today. So you saw Kuzma really working over Evans.
And Philadelphia is not afraid to push the envelope a little bit early in the game. Sal Locascio says if you take a penalty, that's fine. Do it in the first quarter, not late in the fourth. Ryan Boyle on a drive against Pasavia. Boyle, former Princeton All-American, for Colsey. Sidewinder, he scores! Roy Colsey has his shooting shoes on today.
Boston's goalie, Chris Garrity, shaking his head. I believe he was screened. There's Garrity. From the high end zone, put yourself in the position of the goaltender, Chris Garrity. Watch as Colsey now will catch the ball up top and dodges, runs down the alley. Look at all the traffic in front of Garrity at the last moment. Right there. Not sure he saw that, Joe.
It's going to be so difficult for netminders in this league to see through screens. Inge pops the face-off. Evans off the break. And he slings it wide of Greg Petrano. Backed up, though. Possession on the end line belongs to Michael Watson.
Evans can bring it 109 miles an hour.
Watson getting it in gear quickly. That shovel shot rejected by Greg Petrano, the Warrior goalie of the year for the 3rd time in 4 Major League Lacrosse seasons. Really the backbone to this Philadelphia turnaround. Shanahan on the drive, and he finds the room. The Philadelphia Barrage on a 3-goal run. The latest to strike. Doug Shanahan going left hand and going well. Philadelphia has jumped to a 3-1 lead. Folks, the NHRA Powerade Drag Racing Series travels to Memphis for the 17th annual O'Reilly NHRA Mid-South Nationals at Memphis Motorsports Park in Millington, Tennessee. John Force, Larry Dixon, Brandon Bernstein, they'll all be there. Catch 2 hours of qualifying on ESPN2 at 10 Eastern tonight. Back underway in the New Balance Championship game of Major League Lacrosse. Tim Burns. Scott Hiller says he is a do-it-all type performer. And in big games like this, Quint, those guys usually rise to the top.
Tell you, Boston's key to success this season has been their midfield depth. They've got guys who can play both ends of the field, offense and defense. Burns is really known for his D.
Rotelli on the run, hums it over Catrano's shoulder a bit high.
Rotelli coming off his best game as a professional in the semifinals on Friday night.
I don't know that you could have scripted a better performance for the Cannons as they decimated Baltimore, the once proud champion. Rotelli on the quick stick, just missed, backed up by Watson, feeds for Evans, and Catrano got over there again. On the ground as a flag flies. We're about to get power play time for the first time today.
This is going to be an interference with the goalie call, but it was actually Spallina's stick that hits Catrano. It was Spallina's.
19 blue.
Call Lavelle for a foul there, but if you really look close at this, it was Spallina's stick that made contact with Catrano, the goalies.
Wouldn't surprise me. Mr. Spallina swings that stick with reckless abandon. He is not afraid to take a few liberties around the crease, a punishing defender.
Power play time for Philadelphia. This is a unit that does rely on set plays. There's some teams in the league that use sets. There are others that use set plays, and they've named these plays after the children of head coach Sal Locascio and Roy Colsey's newest child that was born last Tuesday.
Baby Ryan. Roy Colsey has a pair for white-jerseyed Philadelphia. They are 6-on-5 right now. Prager moves it behind to Keith Cromwell. A brilliant season for Cromwell, a former Major League Lacrosse Rookie of the Year. Prager to Springer. Bullseye. Mike Springer.
Power play goal for Philadelphia. They run it awfully well. Prager known for his work inside. But this is just a little touch pass. The defense is rotating circularly, and Springer just catches it, sets his feet, and the stealth bomber, he can bring it. Big target, native of New Jersey. Excellent production with that right-handed howitzer.
Love your grammar there. Circularly. You got it in time. Well done. And a flag right off the draw. So many scrums around that face-off X. Roughing call against Peter Inge. Sal Locaccio's crew out to a swift start as we move towards and beyond the midway mark of the first quarter.
Philadelphia, a team on a mission. 6 straight wins. They were 2-5, and Greg Catrano said, hey, we're going to make the playoffs. Playoffs? You're 2-5. They actually did it, and they're not shocked about it.
That was Jim
we were.
The Jim Mora reference. The playoffs? 1-11 last year, Philadelphia. Rebuilding process has come full circle. To the inside for Prager, who's almost automatic. One more time for Miller, and that hit the goalpost. Chris Garrity under siege in the early going.
That was just a shooting gallery inside. You can see the passing and the patterns. Philadelphia very sharp, well coached by Locascio.
Boston settling in, still shorthanded for a moment. Burns will take it for a walk. 4 unanswered goals for Philadelphia. The number 3 seed in this playoff tournament. The top-seeded Cannons are in blue. And on their home field, Boston University's Nickerson Field. Burns, who was a hero in early season games in many different ways. Looking for Watson, who finished the year in dramatic fashion, but that pass is a turnover.
Michael Watson had some superb weekends, Joe. We've seen him lit up the scoreboard. He lit up Catrano pretty good in that first game that we covered on July 10th. Boston won 20-18. And just eye-popping goals. These kind of highlight reel goals that are just amazing to look at.
That game you referenced really kick-started a run for him without equal in Major League Lacrosse history. Watson put up 25 goals in 5 games consecutively. Ooh, a high pass over Mike Mollett. As they joust forward at the midfield stripe, it's over and back against Philadelphia and Boston ball.
Lacrosse is equivalent to a backcourt violation in basketball. You'll see a lot of the similar patterns in basketball and lacrosse.
Boston appearing a bit edgy to start things in this, their first New Balance Championship game. We are in Boston today. Our Major League Lacrosse game of the week is the New Balance Championship between Philadelphia and Boston. Along with Quint Kesnick, I'm Joe Beninati. Jason Chandler is keeping tabs on the sidelines. Greg Catrano, nimble as they come around the cage, starts to clear for Philadelphia. Kuzma racing in, fires one on Garrity, and he kneels to deny. Boyle is right there. Garrity flings it from trouble.
Garrity needed to make that save, Joe. He has gotten off to a really poor start. It's all about confidence and moving ahead as a goaltender in this league. You're going to face about 60 shots.
And Quint, you touched on it. When his save percentage is over 50, Boston has a great chance to win.
Look at Boyle. Great hustle by Boyle. He's going to be called for a hold there, though, with possession. But Ryan Boyle is more than just a goal scorer. This guy does so much. Gets ground balls, basically forechecking here, and you see him drag Rotelli down. I'll tell you, those two guys met many times in college. Rotelli for Virginia and Ryan Boyle for Princeton.
Right out of our Major League Lacrosse rulebook, holding spelled out for you. This Boston team produced the most power play goals during the regular season. They were second best to Baltimore in terms of percentage. Connor Gill makes it go. Number 14 straight ahead is a dynamic passer. Batista force-feeding Gill. Shaded there by Spallina. Great look inside. Aerial for Mike Watson.
The fans here at the Nick finally have something to cheer about, and this is an unbelievable finish. Batista slices and dices through the defense, and look at Watson. He flies in from San Diego to play here in Boston. He flew across the crease.
Huge goal totals. Michael Watson set a Cannons record this season with those 39, second only to Philadelphia midfielder Blake Miller. Scott Hiller breathing a sigh of relief as his team ends Philadelphia's 4-goal run, and Peter Inge gets them another possession.
Joe, the why behind that goal, why that alley was open, is because Spallina gave Gill too much respect at the top of the box, and so he vacated the middle, which created that alley.
And Batista is in such a good shooting streak, you have to play him honestly. He makes the extra pass, and Watson benefits. Little less than 4 minutes to go in the first. Back to even strength. Do so, finding Fiore with a quick trigger. On the end line, the ball belongs to Boston. Connor Gill was closest to the end line when the ball left play. Closest to the ball. Watson blew a wheel on that stutter step there. No problems with the field today, Quint, despite torrential downpours yesterday in the Boston area.
As I mentioned earlier, Philly putting Polanco on Watson because Connor Gill's not 100%, so you don't need to waste Nick Polanco on a Connor Gill.
Shot clock, 45 seconds in Major League Lacrosse, down to 2. Evans has to fire quickly, and he bounced it wide as the 45 seconds elapses. Our New Balance scoring summary to this point, Roy Colsey getting Philadelphia off to a fine start, and Boston not threatening Greg Petrano all that much just yet.
Key differentials in this game will be the goaltending battle. Greg Petrano playing in his 4th Major League Lacrosse Championship game. Chris Garrity does not have that kind of experience. And the face-offs. Peter Inge against Doug Shanahan.
Shanahan, whose face-off percentage steadily climbed as the season progressed. He was in the low 40s at the outset of the year, and Sal Locascio was worried.
I think the key for Shanahan is the ability to scrap. Shanahan's a guy who had a tryout with the New York Jets as a defensive back. He is a spectacular athlete. He needs to work hard on those 50-50 loose balls.
And this sport really lends itself to great athletes. Roy Colsey shimmying, finding Blake Miller. That shot was fanned upon. Silcott stepped in the shooting channel, and the 39-year-old veteran, the coach on the field, if you will, leads the Cannons break. Fiore back for Silcott. Drive! He scores! Ryan Silcott.
Silcott is the heart and soul of this Boston team. He's the leader on the sideline. Head coach Scott Hiller is kind of low-key. There's nothing low-key about Brian Silcott. It starts with defense on Blake Miller, and then they execute the 5-on-4 to perfection. Watch this little give and go. Silcott to Fiore, back to Silcott. The defense doesn't respect him. Why? Because he's a defensive midfielder, and he makes them pay.
Well, the fans just love Brian Silcott. They loved him on Friday when he scored in that thumping of Baltimore, which propelled Boston to the championship. 4-3 now for Philadelphia in white. Shanahan on the hop.
Laundry, that's got to be something.
Well, he was horse-collared down by Mike Batista, who is complaining about it.
Batista physical, loves to kickbox in the off-season to stay in shape.
All of the Boston midfielders, Batista included, have terrific jets. They can run all day. Sal Locascio always worries when playing Boston about their depth through the midfield.
These are two teams that really, their hallmark is their conditioning, wearing other teams down in the 4th quarter as the summer has evolved. And, you know, looking at each other, I think they said, now that's a push. There's no advantage in terms of conditioning in this game.
This is Philadelphia's 3rd power play chance of the quarter, which has 1:37 left in it. Keith Cromwell, the hero Friday night. Colsey for 2. And that's stabbed by Garrity just in front of the crossbar. Michael Pizer, the former Johns Hopkins All-American, comes out of there, slugs it cross for Pasavia.
Beautiful pass.
50-yard pass is on the mark for Regan. In transition, well, Polanco just reads the lane so well. Ground ball.
Whoa!
Bodies flying. And Nick Polanco races from harm. Little shovel for Springer, and Philadelphia can settle it down.
This is intense. If you remember last year's championship game from Villanova, Long Island and Baltimore.
Great look inside for Boyle. And he's stonewalled by Garrity.
3 saves in a row by Garrity. The physical intensity is picked up here as well.
Quint, you are a Division I netminder in the highest and top level with Johns Hopkins. Does a goaltender gain momentum with each subsequent save?
The key is making that first save and then kind of parlaying that save into a bunch more. And Garrity now clearly much more relaxed, Joe, than he was earlier.
Sure seems like it. Boyle trying to roll dodge and fire on Garrity. Garrity is very vocal, orchestrates the defense very clearly. Strebel from behind the cage. Matt Strebel lost it on the cradle. Players cradle the ball to keep possession away from defenders. Mike Mollett in there. Pizer keeps it on the turf. Very late in the first quarter. Just 4 seconds with which to work. Rotelli will watch it to bound out of bounds. And we are done with quarter number 1. Our New Balance Championship game. Philadelphia in front of Scott Hiller's Cannon. 4-3. These two teams faced with a lot of emotion as we get set for quarter number 2 right after this on ESPN2.
The Boston Cannons Game of the Week is powered by Boston Sports Performance Center, where performance has no limits. BSPC is a premier sports performance, physical therapy, and sports medicine center serving the Boston and Metro West communities.
Let's take a look back at that first half there. I talked a little bit about goaltending going into this game. Greg Gacciano on the Barrage just really stood on his head. He had some beasts of defensemen in front of him. Guys like Brian Splina, Brian Kuzma, tough, hard-nosed defenders, really packed it in, made it tough for the Boston offense to get in a rhythm. You saw a lot of turnovers on Boston there in transition, tried to rush things on 6-on-6 a little bit, closed the gap going into it to 8-6 going into the second half here. And Chris Garrity for Boston in the cage stepped up a bit. That first quarter was pretty shaky for him until he started seeing the ball, getting a little bit of a rhythm, gaining some confidence. He struggled early on, but pulled it together that second quarter to close that gap, like I said. 8-6 going into the second half. We'll see you at the end of the game for a final analysis.
The Major League Lacrosse Championship trophy there in the background, the most important hardware on the field right now. 4-3 for Philadelphia after 15 minutes. Speaking of awards, the Bud Light MVP for the season, Connor Gill of Boston.
He's always been a prodigy, the best player at the level that he played in high school in Baltimore, at Virginia, and now with Boston. He finally has great players around him to distribute the rock.
That young man, 24-year-old Maryland native, is going to win a lot of awards before he's through in Major League Lacrosse. Mike Regan sweeping to the right. Loves that sidearm shot. It went wide of Petrano by a whole bunch.
And he gets buried after the shot. That's a common theme today. There are no free shots. You're going down anytime you try to penetrate towards the net.
Sal Ocasio, as a matter of fact, wanted all of the midfielders to feel it, and Batista just got one under the jaw from Shanahan. Fiore chasing. Watson is a tremendous rider.
Fiore shaken up.
Mike Watson, 4 in the blue, comes away for Boston. Connor Gill back behind the cage. Jason Chandler told us the doctors say 85% for Gill, who really doesn't seem his strongest driving to the cage. He does, however, have that excellent vision to make passes. Dussault skipping in. Steve Dussault burrowing for some room, and that's an easy stop for Petrano, and usually starts a fast break.
Connor Gill would be like a quarterback playing with a knee brace. Brett Favre can still play with a lack of mobility, but think about how much better he is when he can get away from the on-rushing players.
Philadelphia in white on the ball. With you live on ESPN2. With a Barrage in front of the Cannons in the New Balance Championship game of Major League Lacrosse. These two teams, including today, will have played each other 4 times in the last 7 weeks. Familiar rivals, to say the least. Back behind the goal, dancing with it, it's Keith Cromwell. Ryan Curtis there as the shot clock reaches 3. Colsey over the shoulder for the hat trick.
Coming in, Joe, we talked about how I thought Colsey was ready to emerge as the best midfielder on the field today, and he's done it. Defensively, you can't let Cromwell sit back there all day. Good cutting game in front. Colsey. Showtime. Roy Colsey, the hat trick. Defensively, Boston's got to get back there and flush Cromwell out, and the goalie has to help by stepping to one side.
Quint, you just knew Roy Colsey would elevate his game on this grand stage. Remember, he's one of the guys from the inaugural Barrage game back in 2001. This team has had a lowly record for 3 years, but boy, do they have to be enjoying themselves at the ultimate level.
They were always so close. They lost more one-goal games. Every time we go watch them play, they'd lose one-goal games. One time they had an 8-goal lead, 8-0, and they managed to lose that game. But you got to go back, guys like Mario Lopez and Matt Panetta, Jim Ganella, Andy Towers, and one of their assistants, Jim Muley, former Bridgeport Barrage before they moved to Philadelphia.
Colsey playing catch with Mike Mollett. Another former Maryland Terrapin. Mollett draws the double from Kaiser. Swings it quickly for Springer. Looking for space. Kick out save by Garrity was a gem. Boston looks to clear. Monday night ABC Sports bring you a Show Me State showdown. The St. Louis Rams take on the Kansas City Chiefs. It's a Monday Night Football preseason special. Monday at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ABC Sports Championship Television.
I thought Marshall Falk is a midfielder out here today. Think he could do some damage on a split dodge?
Priest Holmes. Dante Hall would be tough in the open field.
He'd be great clearing the ball.
Yeah,
or off of face-offs.
Get out of his way. Boston with it in possession. Hard shot there. Regan scored left-handed and actually caught his head coach by surprise back on Friday. Everything was going right for the Cannons when they put away the Bayhawks. Polanco with another pickoff. He had at least 5 of those in Philadelphia's semifinal win over B.J. O'Hara and the Rochester Rattlers.
Air traffic control by Nicky Polanco. Kind of unheralded. No longer. Best defender in the league this year. Get used to it. Changing of the guard. Nicky Polanco.
5-3 Philadelphia. Colsey from outside that 2-point arc. It's 15 yards away from the cage.
Talk about confidence right now. Colsey. Green light to shoot.
Ryan Boyle gets a pick. They try to play a little 2-man game pick and roll. Boyle fenced in by Pasavia. Shot clock to 12. Philadelphia in white. Boyle checking that shot clock. Inside roll. Oh, was he drilled by Ryan Curtis. Still on the ground. Colsey fires one high and wide.
Boyle does an inside roll, and Ryan Curtis, whose father, Mike Curtis, played linebacker for the Baltimore Colts, just absolutely jacks Ryan Boyle up. Right under the chin. Must have called him for a cross-check. From here, from behind it looked clean, but he must have just extended his arms. And there is Ryan Curtis.
So the acorn doesn't fall far from the tree with a Curtis. Can bring the wood to you around the crease. Power play number 4 for Philadelphia. Blake Miller, Roy Colsey, they circle it up. Keep an eye on Prager inside. Kicked out of there by Garrity, and that's a big save at a big moment.
Love the pattern by Philadelphia. They get the ball to their money man. B.J. Prager inside, shoots about 66%. And Garrity now with 2 kick saves in this quarter.
Had to wonder what was wrong with him the other night, Quint. He was only 3 for 6.
His percentage went down. He was 3 for 6, and his percentage went down.
Here's Brian Silcott. Goals in back-to-back games for him. Into the corner, Kevin Lavelle. What a dramatically improved season for number 19.
Boston will rag the clock. There's about 15 in the shot clock. Curtis's penalty still being served.
5 minutes into quarter number 2. Lavelle, those sweet hands. Catrano got the wickets closed and then made another save all on the ground. Colsey comes up with a ground ball. And Catrano serves as the outlet.
Like soccer, anytime you get a loose ball in your defensive end, you want to spread the field and get that field change of direction, basically. You want to work one side or the other. Use the entire width of the field on your clears.
Quint, has this game been played at a more deliberate pace than you would have expected? Both of these teams like to run.
I thought that both teams would probably get to about the 15-goal mark, but we wouldn't see 29-20 like we did earlier in July. It was July 22nd. Philadelphia, right here at Nickerson Field, beats Boston 29-20.
Set 7 different individual scoring records in the process. Chris Garrity at the time was ailing. He was injured. Cromwell in a dogfight with Fallon.
Hard check right there. That is a hard check.
Fallon is a much bigger dog in that fight. Boston will get the ball. 5-3. They trail Philadelphia. Sal Ocasio barking.
Yeah, he wanted the reset call. I'll tell you, as a goalie, Sal was extremely vocal with his defense and the officials. That hasn't changed. The contrast between Hiller of Boston and Ocasio, college teammates at UMass, played under the legend Dick Garber. But Hiller much more low-key, and Ocasio has that Italian temper and that Italian fever.
Paisan.
So do you, Joe.
I guess so. Watson on the shake move against Sweeney. Pops it inside for Dusso. One more look to Connor Gill. Zips it for Rotelli, who lost it on the transition. Russo steps out defensively. These two short stick defenders, Russo and Sweeney, have done a very admirable job in the last month. Watson looking for room. Shot clock at 2. Answered by Kuzma, who races away from harm.
Kuzma's playing a nice game today. What a compliment he is to Spallina and Polanco.
Russo got inside and scores! Nick Russo. Philadelphia 6 and Boston 3. As we make our way away, we remember back to 2002 in Columbus.
Columbus, Ohio. It was Gary Gait to Paul Cantabene. The Bayhawks rolled.
Baltimore was brilliant that day, but they're not here this afternoon. The afternoon on ESPN2. Philadelphia a leader in the second quarter. Major League Baseball on ESPN tonight. Matchup of two teams battling for a playoff spot. Manny Ramirez and the Red Sox meeting Maglio Ordonez and the White Sox. Coverage begins with baseball tonight, driven by GMC at 7 Eastern. That game's also available on ESPN Deportes. For more information, log on to ESPN.com.
Wild card race. Look at Boston, knotted up. They've won 5 straight. Kurt Schilling, 15-6. I remember meeting Kurt when he lived in Baltimore. There was a game between Hopkins and Loyola on a Saturday night. He was out there with his wife. Can't believe the Orioles got rid of him a bunch of years back, and he's kicked around and done pretty well for himself since.
Yes, he has. Yes, he has. Boston, in the midst of a dry spell. They're without a point in the last 9 minutes of change. Watching Philadelphia work offensively here in white with Mike Mollett. Mentioned his heroics in ACC college play. The ACC filled with a lot of very talented midfielders. Colsey's long drive was blunted and easy work for Garrett. If you're just tuning in, Philadelphia's got the last 2 goals on the board. Springer working feverishly against Pasavia. Flag down and a power play to come for Boston right now.
That is the definition of a slash. Players stick viciously contacts an opponents in any area other than the stick gloved hand, and Springer is just out of control. He's all freaked out back there, and he certainly earned his minute.
Well, hits like that, slashes like that, add up, a cumulative effect over time. 6-3 for Philadelphia. Boston goes back to the power play, and during the regular campaign, they were over 41% effective. Batista switching it for Evans. Watson for Gill. Sightseeing from behind the cage. Good stab there by Batista, and he lost it as he was ready to fire. Counter punching. Back comes Blake Miller. Blake Miller, the league's leading goal scorer from the midfield. Quint, that's unheard of.
All season long, we said, okay, when is Blake going to cool down? And then we'd show up and watch him play. He'd score 6 goals. Plays on the man-down defense. He kills penalties. One of the most fit players in the league. Everyone raves about his stamina. 2 years ago, 7 goals. Last year, 24 goals. This year, an amazing record-setting year.
His teammates are so happy for him, Mike Mollett included. They say it couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Right now, Blake Miller will check. Mollett will work in. Shot clock to 5. Mollett, a good look. Quick stick there by Prager. Caught the iron. E.J. Prager, who's so elusive around the crease. Rotelli wheeling back. No numbers advantage, so Boston settles into the 6-on-6. The highest scoring team in Major League Lacrosse, the Boston Cannons in blue, limited to just 3 points here in the first half. Watson turns it for Evans, the hardest shooter in the league. Watson with that shot on display, just missed it by a whisker.
Nice little inside roll there to free up his strong hand.
Boston in the middle of a line change on the fly, similar to hockey. Midfielders and attackmen can rotate in and out. Defenders, too, for that matter. Do so. Double team coming from Moran. Rotelli late in the shot clock, off the outside of the post. Catrano gets help from his friends.
When Boston's offense is clicking, it starts with midfield dodges. They draw the double team, and then they get the ball moving to the weak side.
Kuzma, who knows these cannons so very well, moving it across, but this is an offside against Philadelphia.
4 players have to stay back on the defensive end. Lacrosse has played 10 on 10. 4 have to stay back on defense.
Batista looking for 2, and he got it. Mike Batista from deep.
That'll get you healthy pretty quickly here, and the Chowderheads are on their feet. You'll see the 15-yard mark is our 2-point arc. Wow, offside bounce shot. Catrano's a left-hander. You couldn't do it any better if you tried.
No team in the league's history has scored more 2-point goals than Boston. But when you think of 2s, you immediately think Regan and Evans. Don't forget about Batista. Scott Hiller sure won't, as that talented midfielder strikes from outside the arc to bring Boston within 1. Inge clamps the draw against Shanahan.
Holding against Shanahan. Inge popped it clean, so Shanahan was forced to grab him with his free hand. Inge was off to the races. He might have had a fast break.
Inge technically did not have the ball, so it's not a time-serving penalty. It's just possession for Boston in blue. Just over 4 minutes to go in our first half. Lavelle, those sweet hands and magical moves. Lally pops the pass for Watson, and Catrano read the play well as we have another flag on the field.
Going to be a slashing violation. I think Lavelle took this one up in the helmet.
Let's go, man.
Break time from here at Boston University's Nickerson Field. Kevin Lavelle and the Cannons trying to get things in order against Greg Catrano.
Come on. Welcome back to Nickerson Field, where the Philadelphia Barrage lead the Cannons 6-5. The Cannons are on a power play on their way back into this one. I'm joined by MLL founder Jake Steinfeld. Jake, this is your 4th championship game. What's the difference between the first year and this year?
Well, man, we're growing, man. We're growing. We're here and we're growing. We're getting stronger every day. We're coming west. Next summer is going to be incredible. Attendance has been up this summer. Sponsorship has been up. We're very excited, man. It's a great crowd here in Boston, and unbelievable day, man.
We're here in Boston. Your prediction, Boston or Philly?
Oh, man. We're already a winner, man. Watch the game. It's unbelievable.
All right, Jake, we'll do just that then. Joe, back to you.
Jason and Jake, thank you very much. Pleased to have you on board for the ride in this New Balance Championship game. We're in Boston today. The season began on the Wild West Tour, Clint.
Have we had fun, Joe?
Definitely.
Have we had fun? Seattle, Denver, up and down the East Coast. How about those restaurants out in Seattle? And what about the crowd in Denver? Unbelievable. Next year, talk about going back to Seattle, LA, Denver, San Diego, San Francisco, Chicago, Atlanta. Expansion in 2 years out to the west.
The Boston folks have done themselves proud. Nearly 7,000 during the semifinals. Back on Friday as Colsey just missed again for 2. And I would say better than that today on what has been a Chamber of Commerce afternoon weather-wise in the Boston area.
Look at Colsey signaling for a reset. He pinged that one off the post. Okay, the people in Boston all summer long just galvanized by this Cannons team.
During the season, Major League Lacrosse point-scoring numbers were up in this championship final at just 6-5. By this league standards, low scoring. Blake Miller wipes out. Silcott scooping it away. Colsey and Springer hustle him to the sideline and shove him rudely into the bench.
Great hustle by Colsey and company.
The New Balance scoring summary to this point, 6-5 for Philadelphia. Just a couple of goals for the Barrage in quarter number 2. Passavia on the scoop. And the clear to Batista. Mike Batista, in the last week of the regular season, put a dent in Greg Catrano, something fierce, with beautiful shots to the offside. He's got 1 today from 2.
Passavia, very talented off the ground. Reminds me of a young Pat McCabe or John Gagliardi. The ability to come out of that crowd of players with the ball and a stick.
Went for the guys with the long sticks as Dussault moves in. More important for them to be quick or have muscular brawn.
Well, Spallina right there. You know, it's equally important. You see, Spallina's known for his brawn. A guy like Passavia is known for his finesse.
Rotelli was fouled. Spallina, who is routinely this team's penalty minute leader, heads to the penalty box.
Second in the league. This should be a push with possession. He is just crazed today. Spallina, that's his 13th penalty minute of the season. J.J. Albera, the midfielder from Long Island, an amazing 22.5 penalty minutes this year to lead the league.
Ouch. 6-5 Philly putting on a good show with Boston. Coming up at the half, we'll have our plays of the year. We'll look back at highlights from this first half. Name the all Major League Lacrosse team, too, if you stay put with us.
It's our 12th game right here on ESPN2.
Evans shuffling his feet. Inside for Lavelle. Turns and drives wide.
Collapsing defense. They're in a zone, and anytime the ball is thrown inside, it's really a free-for-all. And Lavelle felt that check by Kuzma and Polanco.
They sandwiched him. Watson likes to work on the outside. Over the top on the skip. Batista for two, and that's fought off by Catrano.
Nice save by Catrano. Got his stick on that. Key for Catrano is his footwork. He is so quick and so light on his toes.
He worked on that in the offseason with an athletic trainer, working on explosiveness, beautiful passing to the inside, and a man who knows how to put it away is Kevin Lavelle.
As the penalty was being released, I believe Philadelphia's defense relaxed. They looked towards the substitution box. Their teammate was coming in, and that momentary relaxation yields a Lavelle goal. Look at him. He just finds a soft spot right in the middle of those four defenders. Catch, turn, and fire. He knows where the goal is. Talk about improvement. The most improved player in the league. 7 points last season in 5 games. Huge numbers this year.
Just take a look at him. He didn't dawdle when he got rid of that shot. Wasted no time at all. Shanahan away. Off the face-off. The pass handcuffed Mike Springer. Just over a minute to go in the first half, and we are brand new once again at 6-6 between Philadelphia and Boston. The New Balance Championship game of Major League Lacrosse. Mike Mollett and the Philadelphia Barrage in white. Shanahan looking to isolate from the top. He'll try Chris Fiore on for size. Shanahan, sharp angle. Shot clock to 10. Shanahan pumps it and scores!
Shanahan works down the left alley. The initial defense was excellent, but then he turns back towards his strong hand, his right hand, and this finish is really what separates it. He goes with the overhand rotation of his shot and then yanks the ball at the last second. That freezes Chris Garrity up high. The ball ends up downstairs. Shanahan with 2.
And right back to work at the X. We zoom in on Inge and Shanahan. An illegal procedure call against Boston's Peter Inge, the man who's playing with that ailing left hand.
You look at Philly's scoring right now. Colsey with the hat trick, Shanahan with 2, Russo has a goal. They've only gotten 1 goal from an attackman, and that's Michael Springer.
Sal Ocasio, Jim Moulet, the coaching brain trust for Philadelphia, recognizing that the shot clock is turned off so the Barrage can have the final possession of the half.
Philadelphia's Ryan Boyle, no points right now. Pasavia is really taking him out of the equation.
John Glatzel did that on Friday night for Rochester. Congratulations to the Rattlers off a National Division Championship. Ooh, Keith Cromwell had some room and just missed as Garrity got caught in the wash in the crease. 5 seconds in the quarter.
6 seconds on the clock. Coach stops in the last. I know, but it was at 6 and you blew 8.
Locasio is way out of his coaching box here.
He wants additional time put back up on the master game clock.
When I looked at the clock to our right, Joe, I saw 6.
As the officials confer at the timekeeper's table. Will Locasio get his way? They're going to keep it at 6.
He usually does.
Easy.
Boyle making a mad dash right for the crease. He scores! Ryan Boyle didn't need any more time.
Boyle isolating against Pasavia and just sprints past him to the inside. Where's the double team if you're Boston, Joe? I don't understand defensively here how you can't support and double team. Boyle flying across the crease, so impressive this year with his aggression. In college, known as a passer, here he takes it to the rack awful strong.
Pasavia did a wonderful job against Mark Millen Friday night in Baltimore. Pasavia wants that assignment, and Ryan Boyle blisters him there. Nearly at the buzzer of the first half. Ryan Boyle and the Philadelphia Barrage in front by 2.
Joe, if you make Boyle pass the ball right there, what happens? The time winds down.
Expires.
You've got to slough down low and double team him.
Halftime begins at field level with Jason Chandler.
All right, Joe, thanks. I'm here with Roy Colsey. Roy, solid half for you guys. This is your first championship game. What will you tell your team as a leader in the locker room to keep up the good work?
Oh, we played a great half. We're going to expect to go down to the wire. It's a championship game. We're playing hard, making a lot of good decisions and a couple of bad decisions. So we got to take care of the ball, be smart when we get it and play strong defense.
All right, Roy, thanks and good luck.
All right, thank you.
Joe, back to you.
Guys, thanks. The energy and the enthusiasm from BU's Nickerson Field. Plenty of color for the New Balance Championship game and plenty of hard shots from the outside. Mike Batista and the Cannons down at the half. Stay with us. A spectacular turnaround for Philadelphia lands them in the New Balance Championship game. Great goaltending, great midfield play, and a young attackman shines brightest. Cascades under the helmet, spotlights Philadelphia attackman Ryan Boyle. His head coach refers to him as the missing piece in the offensive puzzle, and now it's impossible to miss him on the field. In only 8 games, Ryan Boyle earned this season's Cascade Rookie of the Year honors by shattering the league's rookie scoring records and establishing himself as a point-producing force for the future. That's Ryan Boyle under the helmet. You think about Ryan Boyle and you think about Tillman Johnson and how easily they could have shared Rookie of the Year honors.
Tell you, Boyle put up some great numbers. Regular season, 18 goals, 30 assists, and that's only in 9 games. But he's transformed the mindset of this Philadelphia team. Formerly, they were selfish. Now, they share the rock like it's going out of style. They are the most unselfish team in the league.
Boyle and friends got the better of Tillman Johnson and the Rochester Rattlers back on Friday. It was a heart-stopping overtime winner coming from Keith Cromwell that propelled Philadelphia to this, our New Balance Championship, just underway at the start of the 3rd quarter. Blake Miller trying to start swiftly, bounced it wide.
Not many rookies stuck this year in the league. Remember, it's only 6 teams. It's awful tight at the top. Not many roster spots available. But the ones who did, I think, are going to be real difference makers down the road. Shanahan
scooting in. He's already got 2 today, and he just trims that one a little too fine against Chris Garrity. Shot clock at 6. Boyle. Little roll on Pasavia, who keeps him at stick's length.
Warding off call, Joe. A warding off call. Using your free arm to push off.
Let's check in with Jason Chandler on the sideline.
Joe, I spoke with both coaches coming out of the locker room. Sal Licasio of Philadelphia said Philly has to keep up the solid midfield defense. On the other side, Scott Hiller said ball movement will be the key for Boston in the second half.
Jason, it's a point that Scott makes to us from week to week whenever we see the Cannons. If they get a little slow in their traffic patterns, if they slow things down to a crawl, they aren't at their best. Here's a guy who can run, Fiore, working with Rotelli. These super sophomore midfielders. Rotelli on the jump shot as he worked away from Sweeney.
I think Boston might be better off playing Lavelle a little more at attack right now. Evans is not the fastest guy. He's kind of stationary. And now you have an injured Connor Gill. You've got 2 stationary attackmen.
We mentioned it at the top of the telecast today, live on ESPN2. The Cannons do have some aches and pains throughout their lineup. Philadelphia is very healthy, very fresh at this time of the year, 12 weeks into the Major League Lacrosse season in this, our championship match. Philadelphia in white in front by 2. And Ryan Boyle, unaccustomed to see him working out here. Working in against Pasavia, who hatchets away. Cromwell, very slippery behind the goal. Opens up for Mollick. Back to Cromwell, inside for Springer, and that went wide as a power play is coming.
Late hit against Curtis or Rotelli, I'm not sure which one, but they buried Mollick. The reason Pasavia is covering Boyle is because Ryan Curtis has got that injury to his calf. He does not have the change of direction today that requires him to cover Boyle. He hurt it late stages of the semifinal game when he took a shot directly in his calf muscle.
You see that WF on the face mask for Will Farris, local youngster, age 13, I think, who has been an inspirational note for the Cannons throughout this summer.
Young Martha's Vineyard lacrosse player injured on his farm. Thought he was going to lose his legs. Actually, they were able to save his legs. He was out here the other day in a wheelchair, stood up and took a shot before the Boston game, and the fans just ate it up. And so many of these Boston players have spent time with him in the hospital.
Really a stirring moment back during the semifinals on a rainy Friday night. Garrity will take his time walking up the clear for Boston, which trails by 2. The Cannons scored the most goals and allowed the most goals during the regular year. They finished 9-4. Colsey off the turnover, looking for the numbers advantage. Off the post. The rebound ricochets back onto the Philadelphia defensive half. Sweeney owns it there. And Blake Miller, who has had 6 different games this year with 4 goals or more.
There's that give and go. Casio told us about it. There's a relationship between Miller and Cromwell. Miller loves to throw the ball down the wing to Cromwell and then do a V-cut.
Mike Mollett.
Oh, that's got to be something.
Bulldog by Fallon, and you are right.
That's a push with possession. Okay, Mollett has drawn 3 fouls today. Fallon may be the biggest player in the league, about 6'5", 6'6", 250 pounds. Wow.
Quint, Mike Mollett is a player who's played a lot of college attack. How does that benefit him now that he's running primarily at midfield?
Well, he's running at short sticks, so that's an advantage right there. But he's also good in tight spaces, you know, in a phone booth. He's good when a guy's draped all over him. And twice now in this quarter, he's drawn fouls. Because when you sense that pressure on your back, what do, Joe? Go down. Don't fight it. The referee will drop his towel.
Blake Miller keeps it moving. Philadelphia on the manpower advantage. Major League Lacrosse has a 45-second shot clock. Prager has no need to worry about it.
Prager is like Andy Roddick at the net. It's just a volley. It's not even a shot. Power play execution doesn't come any better, doesn't come any easier. The look-away pass, Cromwell, the money in the bank, B.J. Prager, Garden City, Long Island, and then Princeton.
Jeff Sonke of Baltimore, the only player in the league to have more power play goals than this guy. B.J. Prager is now at 20 overall on the year, 16 of them coming during the regular year. And his first on the day gives Philadelphia a 3-point cushion.
And there's Cromwell with the assist. You talk about his production going up this season. Last year, 16 goals and 12 assists. This season, 27 goals and 24 assists. So just having Ryan Boyle in the lineup has made Cromwell so much better.
Shanahan working wide. Let's share a quick word with Jason Chandler.
Joe, the Cannons are really getting frustrated with the last couple of penalties, but Chris Rotelli in particular telling his team to stay positive out there and don't get on the officials.
Now, that's something that happens quite regularly. These guys on both sidelines will work the refs in hopes that a favorable call comes their way later on. Mike Regan playing keep away. Boston in blue on its home turf. Dussault ambling down the flank. Kyle Sweeney has been praised by his head coach for his work defensively in the last month.
Sweeney was such a playmaker at Georgetown with the long pole, the 72-inch stick, and now he's playing with a short, and it's quite a difference in the way you play defense.
Jump shot from Dussault, denied by Cutrano. Back to Jason for an injury update.
Joe, Ryan Boyle on the bench right now with a hip pointer, a hip injury. The trainer says he will return at some point today.
Oh, no.
Strebel, his former comrade at Princeton University, can play both attack and midfield. So right now they have Strebel playing behind the goal on attack.
Sharing the oh-no's that must have been coming from Boston's sidelines back on Friday when Michael Watson took a turn for the worst. Another huge hit inside that buried Blake Miller. As the Cannons make a break for it, they do so with second-year pro Chris Fiore, former first-team All-America at the University of Massachusetts. Cutrano, another arm save. Watson will hustle it down and work against Polanco as Ryan Boyle gets the ice going to work. Watson on the pushback for Fiore. Rogler, another of those defensive short sticks, out to challenge. Fiore off the roll dodge. Double team comes. Rotelli will move it.
Need a little more off-ball movement if you're Boston.
You're not seeing as much of that swirl today, right?
Exactly. They're standing still, Joe. They're drawing the double team, but big deal. You've got to cut through. When a man comes at you and you're the adjacent offensive player, you have to cut through and drag your man and create space. A little too stagnant.
This guy can pound his way for some space. David Evans didn't get it past Greg Cutrano. Evans is the all-time leading goal scorer and point scorer for the Cannons in their 4-year history. We've hit another lull in the scoring in our New Balance Championship game. Philadelphia, a 9-6 leader, live on ESPN2. Kuzma will walk it across. And Now he'll get things coordinated with Mike Mollett, who says slow and steady.
3-goal lead with Catrano between the pipes. I think Philly likes that slower tempo. Boston needs to start making some things happen on defense, get their transition game going.
Colsey on the hop, spinning back to fire for 2, and that's just wide on Garrity. Chris Garrity, the netminder who was leading the league in wins for Boston at the time of his injury. Shot clock down to 5. Strebel making his advance. 3 on the clock. Strebel, no room. Good defense by Steve Dussault. The turnover goes back to Boston. The Cannons facing their largest deficit, down by 3 in quarter number 3. These two teams know each other's faces all very well in a very physical affair. Just 1 goal in the third quarter of our New Balance Major League Lacrosse Championship game. It belongs to Philly. 9-6, they've got the lead. And our U.S. lacrosse fan of the game, yeah, he stands out in the crowd. Jeez Louise, look at that colorful getup. Folks, Sunday night, ESPN has a matchup with 2 teams still battling for a playoff spot. Manny Ramirez and the Red Sox meeting Maglio Ordonez and the White Sox. Coverage begins with baseball tonight, driven by GMC at 7 Eastern. Red Sox, White Sox is available on high definition, ESPN HD. Call your cable operator. As we are in the heart of Red Sox Nation.
We got to go to a game earlier this year. I tell you, those seats are awful tight at Fenway. Joe, you played baseball. So many of these athletes started out as baseball players, came over from the dark side. I tell you, once you get that stick in your hand, that lacrosse stick, it's hard going back.
Very difficult to turn back. You're right. I never did. Watson finds Lavelle. Batista outside the 2-point arc, dancing past Sweeney. Oh, that's a fine stop by Greg Catrano. The reflexes in full bloom.
This is where he is magical out of the cage.
The only goaltender in Major League Lacrosse history to score a goal. As Catrano had a stick snap over him.
Look at Lavelle.
Moran keeps it moving. Weak side, Ryan Boyle missed a wide open cage. Fans here upset with a non-call.
Catrano got decked behind the play. Lavelle made the hit, and then Spallina and Polanco got all over Lavelle. How did Boyle miss this? This was an absolute layup, an open net. Look at Garrity, he's off his line. Oh, Ryan Boyle.
Seen those guys bury that. 100 out of 100. It was from a sharp angle. Rotelli scampering down the wing. 9-6 still for Philadelphia. Boston in blue with the ball. Lavelle, who just last week had 6 goals against the Barrage. To Connor Gill, who's ailing with that bad knee.
You get out of here!
Regan picks it up. Shot clock down to 14. Mike Regan dishing for Evans. 1 more for Batista. And it's ratcheted away again by Catrano.
Catrano's got a shutout quarter going. About 10 minutes of shutout lacrosse.
Nick Polanco taken down in a heap, and again the tempers flare.
Chowderheads love it. They like the physical play. They know the Bruins. They know the Patriots.
Got the thunder sticks working in the seats.
Polanco turns right into the double team. There's no free inches of turf today. Everything is contested.
None whatsoever. Dussault keeps it hot for Evans back behind. Spallina leans in. That's a big physical matchup right there. Evans to score!
David Evans turns the corner. The key to this move is he's a right-handed player. He creates enough separation to shoot around the stick of Spallina. Look at him just shoot over the shoulder of Spallina. There defensively, you want to use your long stick and put it in the hands and the stick of David Evans. Got a 10-yard shot by Evans. Really known for his depth of shooting. He can nail it from 18 yards.
Clint, he's almost always around that 30-goal mark. He started today with a nice pair of assists. Goes and gets one for himself right there. Shanahan wins the draw against the very game and gritty Peter Inge, who's playing with a bad hand. Shanahan loping back.
With Boston's attack so banged up, Watson's not in the game right now. Gill clearly not 100%. David Evans might have to be the guy to push to the net unassisted.
Roy Colsey again will slow the pace. Just 16 points combined between these two teams. As we're closing in on the end of the third quarter. A nice skip for Cromwell. He scores! Keith Cromwell. Right through Bloody Nose Lane.
Gotta love this pass by Colsey. A very aggressive pass down low, and then a stutter step. Cromwell, the all-time leading goal scorer and points leader at Rutgers University, a former Rookie of the Year in 2001. And there is Keith Cromwell, the left-hander. Long Island, Hicksville, New York. So many of these players from Long Island. And Colsey, who's had a big game. 3 goals, and he's passing the ball now well, too.
Folks, Major League Lacrosse has teamed up with Tom Ryan and the Lacrosse Institute, presenting the Titan Tour in 2004-05. You spend 2 full days with the pros. Guys like Mike Howley of Rochester and Brian Doherty will help you learn great skills. The Titan Tour is stopping in cities like Seattle, Dallas, San Francisco, Atlanta, Fort Lauderdale, and Portland, Oregon. All over this great land of ours. Strebel back behind the cage.
Lacrosse is no longer a little East Coast thing, Joe. Coast to coast. When we were out in Seattle, we got to see the Seattle State Championship.
Major League Lacrosse contemplating expansion towards the West in a couple summers.
The growth of lacrosse at the high school and youth level across the country is an epidemic. By the time I'm done with this sentence show, another kid has gone to Dick's Sporting Goods and bought a stick.
And that's very nice of him. Contributing to the economy and to the growth of the sport.
Such a fun game to play. It has so many of the aspects, the hitting of football, the goal scoring of basketball. It's got the patterns of soccer and hockey.
Batista, again crowded by Mike Mollett. Mollett forces the turnover and a near fast break. Mike Mollett chased after by Pasavia, who sets him up for the over-the-head check, and it was a beauty. Quickly, we visit with Jason Chandler, who wants to talk about Ryan Boyle.
Joe, as you know, Ryan's back on the field. He's wearing a special hip pad. He got taped up on the sideline. He's back for good.
Regan in tight. Regan hits the bullseye.
This Cannon team needs a little injection from these fans here. If there's going to be a home field advantage, it's got to come from the fans. Fiore, nice pass to Regan, the right-hander who played at Butler from upstate New York, from the Albany area. And he just gets in tight range and beats Catrano over the shoulder.
A player who has scorched the Barrage in his career, and a player who sacrificed some of his own personal numbers this season for the good of the gang. And Boston had a record-setting year, dispatching Long Island from the top spot in the American Division to get to this New Balance Championship.
Inch hanging all over Shanahan on that draw. Face-offs have been even, but here now Shanahan wins that 50-50 ball.
Philadelphia in white by 2. We are live on ESPN2. This is the New Balance Championship game. Joe Beninati, Quint Kesnick, Jason Chandler with you.
Pasavia's having a big game, Joe. Takeaway of Mollett, that takeaway of Shanahan. Pasavia loves the spotlight and the showcase that this game provides.
Spallina hoping to irritate Connor Gill on the outside. The blue jersey Cannons have it. That high-powered second midfield. Chris Rotelli has factored into that throughout the season. Pleasant surprise they've been from a goal-scoring point of view. Dussault gets the short stick. Roll dodge on Rogler. Right to the crease. He scores! Steve Dussault.
Momentum on the side of Boston. Dussault. This is a textbook inside roll. Watch him drive up just like basketball. He'll post up Rogler and then turn right here. Whoop! Defense doubles. Kuzma misses him. And that's why you spend all that time in the weight room. He was being draped on. Guy hanging on his back, and he still had the strength and the skill to put the ball in the net.
Cue that handiwork prompts us to look at our New Balance scoring summary. Philadelphia spreading the wealth offensively. Connor Gill, the league's leading point scorer, has a donut under his name in the point scoring column today. We should also mention, as we have addressed, he has a badly sprained left knee.
Peter Inge, one of the walking women for Boston as well. The broken hand, his left hand, from Adelaide, Australia. 2 years ago, emailed Scott Hiller, says, I want to play in Major League Lacrosse. They play lacrosse in Australia.
Wasn't that a great story?
Comes across and makes the team. And this year really set the world on fire early in the season especially.
There are days and they can't do without him. especially going up against the likes of someone like Paul Cantabene in Baltimore, who set a record for face-off wins and ground balls this year.
In so fast and so quick, typically gets stronger as the game goes on.
Dussault on a jump shot, and we are tied.
Dussault stings the corner here. Little rocker step dodge, changes side to side, creates separation. And what I've always been so impressed about Steve Dussault is his overhand release. If you're a young lacrosse player and you can learn to shoot the ball straight overhand, boom, like that off a jump shot, you're going to score goals. You're going to find yourself in the lineup. It's so tough for these goalies to read the ball coming out of an overhand rotation, much like a baseball hitter trying to hit Randy Johnson when he gets that windup coming straight over the top.
The deuce is loose again, Quint. That's his 6th hat trick of the season. Couldn't come at a better time in our New Balance championship game today. One of these teams will be crowned the kings of Major League Lacrosse for the first time. This league in its 4th season only knows Baltimore and Long Island as champions. Today, that will change. Rotelli roaming back. Gill. One quick pass for Evans. Tried to get fancy with it, and Kuzma didn't give him any room. Philadelphia's swarming defense to the rescue. Spallina charging away. Brian Spallina. Oh, great wrap check there. Batista got him up high.
But the free hand, Joe. It was a nice one-handed wrap check with his left hand, but his right hand reaches on Spallina's back and basically holds him in place. You see, watch Batista's right hand. Right there, and he just uses that on his back, and that's generally what the refs are looking for. They're not looking for the hand with your stick. They're looking for the free hand.
Blake Miller. So productive during the season. League record for goals by a midfielder. Has not tallied today. Roy Colsey has. More than a couple times. Fiore challenging. Burns is there to double.
How about the D?
Inside pass looking for Springer. And we hear the siren sound. Quarter number 3 is in the books. Boston Cannons faithful, very pleased to see their group battle back from a 3-goal deficit. One of the reasons why has to be Steve Dussault. In a physical game, Dussault has found his shooting eye from inside and from outside. Boston University's Nickerson Field packed in there nice and tight. Lacrosse fans watching Boston and Philadelphia at each other's grill. Chris Garrity working hand in hand against Greg Catrano, the netminders duel. Earlier today, Quint Kesnick, one of the major awards presented, New Balance Sportsman of the Year.
Kevin Finneran, 39-year-old. Talk about spirit of the game on and off the field. A gifted athlete who's given back so much. You know what I love about Major League Lacrosse, Joe, is 5 years ago, Kevin Finneran is retired. No one ever heard of him again. Ohio Wesleyan product now gets to showcase his skills, gets to interact with kids, and really gets to continue to play and make so many people enjoy the game.
Real good man. Real good man. Philadelphia arriving in the finals. They beat Rochester to get here. They hadn't beaten Rochester before this season. They lost 9 in a row to them. It took them twice this season. A turnaround for the guys in white. Boston here by virtue of their bloodletting against Baltimore on Friday. Inside pass was a beauty, and Catrano makes the stop on Watson. Loose ball for Rotelli. Rotelli, skip pass, Gill fires over top of the goal. Let's check in with Jason Chandler.
Joe, I had a front row seat in both huddles during the quarter break. Philadelphia talking about the Cannons have made their run, it's time to make ours. And the Cannons talking about winning the little battles and making the little plays.
So many times, Jason, it will boil down to those things, and especially, Quint, that point gets magnified in the 4th quarter.
Little play on that last shot was made by Kyle Sweeney, the defender for Philly. As the shot was being taken by Rotelli, you see Sweeney put his stick underneath the elbow of Rotelli and lift. And that shot was very weak. Easy save by Catrano.
So many big guns in this league. So many all-stars and all-Americas and guys who are the top midfielders or attackmen or defensemen of the year in college. You figured it might be one of the lesser lights who jumps up and bites someone late in this game. Perhaps someone like Mike Mollett, who just heaved it high on Chris Garrity.
Mollett came over in the trade from Rochester. Ryan Boyle, originally drafted by Rochester. Philadelphia drafted Tillman Johnson. But you didn't need Tillman Johnson to sit behind Greg Catrano. So they made a trade, and the extra guy in the trade was Mollett.
Ball on the ground. Burns is there. Sal Licasio worked late in the night on draft day to execute that trade. Blake Miller. Oh, there he is. Making his presence felt and then getting decked.
Blake Miller has taken such a beating this year. This time he doesn't come up as quickly as he usually does. Late in the shot clock, he knows it. He's got Pizer on the ropes here. Still caught double teams, but that's a typical Blake Miller goal. When you think the ball's going to pop out of his stick, it doesn't. And somehow, the strength of Blake Miller. Look at the season he has had. That's a regular season, 46 goals. You recognize some guys on that list? Gary Gate, Jay Gilbert, MVP season in 03 last year. And he just blew them out of the water.
He didn't just break the record, he obliterated it. And Blake Miller, one of the older guys on this team. It's a young Philadelphia squad. Blake's 32 years of age, from a really large family, working 2 games in less than 36 hours for Sal Licasio.
Meaningless for Blake Miller. Sal says, this is a guy, when everyone else goes out for a little pop and some wings after a game, Blake Miller's there drinking Gatorade and eating a tuna fish sandwich.
Health conscious. Philadelphia scores the goal and then gets the manpower. As they balance up, Mike Springer waiting for the troops. Blake Miller and Roy Colsey jog on from the sideline. 6-on-5 for Philadelphia. Prager sneaking inside. Colsey up top, slings it to the corner, and Philadelphia is on a run.
Colsey has had supreme confidence all game. Scores early. That's his 4th goal.
Philadelphia trying to be a champion like Long Island was in year 1 of Major League Lacrosse, 2001.
Paulie Gates, 7 goals on 8 shots, beats Catrano there. The goalie for Long Island, none other than Sal Licasio. Year 1 victors, the Long Island Lizards.
Just part of Sal's Hall of Fame credentials, Roy Colsey has been a member of the Barrage from the outset. Sal Licasio, cool as a cucumber to this point. Just over 12 minutes to go in the 4th. His troops in front by 2.
Joe, for so many years when the Philadelphia franchise was in Connecticut, we go to games, and the focus was the midfielders. They had Jim Ganella, they had Blake Miller and Colsey, but there wasn't much else. Now they have the supporting cast.
Realize they don't have to do it on their own. Colsey getting hot at just the right time. Ooh, look at this. Behind the back twice.
Boyle can't run.
Nope, he can't. Chris Garrity can. Puts it about 80 yards down the field, hoping for Connor Gill. Nick Polanco said no, and the Barrage come back trying to build on a 2-point cushion. Boyle feathers it for Miller. Miller's drive is stabbed again by Garrity.
Nice save by Garrity. You talk about the war of attrition. Only 18 players dressed per team. Many of these guys are on their last win.
Pasavia keeps it moving. Evans shuffles it on for Gill. Back behind the cage. Boston in the blue. The Cannons. Well, you'd have to say around week 8 of the season, they were heavily favored to win it all. Watson. Oh, very clever with it. Catrano, eagle-eyed, stayed with it. Kuzma finds Colsey, and this should be an easy clear for Philadelphia.
How about Colsey's week? On Tuesday, he's in the hospital giving birth to a child, watching Major League Lacrosse on Tuesday afternoon.
Congratulations to he and his wife, Christy. It's 12-10 Philly. We are headed down the stretch from Boston. Plenty to smile and cheer about in Boston. Philly has a 12-10 lead in the 4th. Lacrosse fans, Monday Night Countdown provides comprehensive analysis, interviews, highlights, up-to-the-minute NFL news, and more. Host Stuart Scott teams up with Tom Jackson, Michael Urban, and Ron Jaworski. Reporter Chris Mortensen provides the latest league news. It all leads up to Monday Night Football. ABC Sports brings you the Show Me State Showdown, the Chiefs and Rams, Monday Night Football preseason, Monday at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ABC Sports Championship Television.
2 former college lacrosse players now play in the NFL. Patrick Carney, Atlanta, plays defensive end. He was a defenseman for the University of Virginia. And Chaz Gesner, who played midfield at Brown, trying to make the Patriots. And if Gesner doesn't make the Patriots as a wide receiver this year, expect to see him next summer playing Major League Lacrosse.
We were watching him last night work for Bill Belichick's crew. Evans for 2. Too high.
109 miles an hour, 3-time winner of the fastest shot competition. Looks like Mark McGuire off the field, red-headed. He's got arms that are just out of this world.
Legs.
Humongous.
Arms like legs. Fiore, those graceful strides on the outside. The two-point arc in Major League Lacrosse could come into play here in the fourth. It's set 15 yards from the cage. It's in goal. Dussault dancing around. Dussault, who's had the hot hand, just missed.
Playing with fresh legs right now. Dussault feeling the confidence, as is Colsey, his counterpart for Philly.
Just under 10 minutes to go in regulation time. Evans and the Cannons in blue on their home turf. Evans spins twice. Dussault and Sweeney there. Quint, if you were Scott Hiller, adjustments that you might make down the stretch?
As you take a look at the numbers, very even in the goaltending situation. If I was Scott Hiller, I'm not sure I'd put Connor Gill behind the net. I think he's just too stationary behind the net. I'd almost put him inside on the crease and have his man be the double team man, then have him maybe pop off of that.
So much of the defensive schemes in Major League Lacrosse, and any lacrosse for that matter, revolving around different slide packages and who is playing where on the field. Right now it is Strebel pumping one for Mollett.
Mollett loves it behind the cage. 2 years ago in the Carrier Dome in the quarterfinals, he catapulted Maryland into the semis.
Right now his former college chum is guarding him, Pasavia. Mollett tried to stab it in the short side. 12-10 Philly. Here's Jason Chandler.
Huge story in this game. Ryan Curtis has 4 personal fouls. That means he cannot return to the game. No Ryan Curtis from here on out for Boston because he has 4 personal fouls, guys.
Ouch. Last year's Defender of the Year and rock-solid stalwart for the Cannons.
You know, it's
not
funny,
available.
Yeah, we have never seen that happen in all the games we've covered now, our 3rd year working together. The college rule allows you 5 personals, and I wonder if Ryan was not as aware of the rule as he should have been, because that last foul was blatant. It was a late hit.
Saddled with 4 now and benched. Watson inside, kick save, Catrano. Greg Catrano, when the spotlight is shining the brightest, that's when he is marvelous.
Think about the goaltenders that have played for the Barrage. David Crone, Justin Sinar, Mark Spruitt, Matt Hunter, Jim Muley, and Pat McGinnis.
Springer, short side off the meshing. Jim Muley, who's on the sideline as an assistant coach.
Jimmy Muley had some tough losses when he was a starting goalie for the Barrage. But Catrano has more wins than all those guys combined. He has 8 wins. Those 6 guys I just named have 7 wins.
More wins than anyone in regular season and in playoff. Greg Catrano. 12-10 Philly. And Ryan Curtis, with the helmet off, has been ejected from this one. An accumulation of 4 fouls. Lavelle. Darting around. Lavelle undressed there by Sweeney. A good poke check.
Picked his pocket with the poke.
Sweeney rumbling back. Philadelphia under control with a 2-point lead halfway through the 4th quarter.
The heroes, Joe. Rogler, Russo, and Sweeney.
And Ryan Moran. Strebel, freestyle specialist. Matt Strebel kicks it for Springer. Shot clock at 18. Over the hand shot from Colsey. Missed everything. Roy Colsey, who started splendidly today with a couple of first quarter tallies. He's continued momentum into the second half. Mollett worked over by Pasavia, and Garrity once again alert to leave the crease.
That's how Garrity got hurt here in July. Same type of play. Came out of the net. Hurt his tibia.
Backed up today by Trevor Tierney, formerly an all-star in New Jersey, whom the Cannons acquired in trade mid-season when they weren't sure about Garrity's availabilities. Just over 6 minutes to go. Joe Beninati, Quint Kesnick upstairs. Jason Chandler with you. We're live on ESPN2. This is the New Balance Championship game. Boston and Philadelphia, Boston in blue. Fiore inside, Watson in wide, backed up by Gill.
Philadelphia, there's Ryan Boyle. He's on the bench, the rookie of the year with a hip pointer. His status uncertain. Philadelphia 2-5 early in the season. They have won 6 straight games. An amazing turnaround. That really corresponds to the draft pick of that man right there, Ryan Boyle.
Ryan Boyle, boy, that's a surprise to see him without a helper today. Boyle scored his first career 2-point goal in the semifinals for Sal Ocasio back on Friday. Boyle is a man who will challenge Connor Gill for the assist lead from here on out during their overlapping careers. Strebel, drive and score! Through the screen, the lead is 3.
That is a nice little cushion for Cotrano in the defense now, because a 2-pointer doesn't tie the score. Strebel, Princeton University, a 2-sport star. He played soccer and lacrosse in college. Nothing fancy about that, but again, I think there was some traffic in front of Garrity. And there's Strebel. Joe alluded to his freestyle championship in the skills competition, and that is a humongous goal for Philadelphia.
Quite large. Matt Strebel, 25-year-old, had a pair against Boston in Week 12, the win that clinched the playoff berth for Philadelphia.
Ground ball play. Oh, look at Moran.
Oh, another high hit coming from Cromwell. Nobody is safe. Pass Sevilla, scoops it on. Inge keeps it moving. Evans takes one more step. Watson waits. Gill giving it a look-see from behind the cage. A short stick defender now on Connor Gill, namely Ryan Moran.
That was good transition defense by Philadelphia there, Joe.
Evans inside. Cotrano! Another 10-bell save.
Money time. Money time. Cotrano can sense it. 4th appearance in the championship game. He's got 1 ring. 2 losses on this stage, and he can sense right now is his time.
Doug Shanahan high in the air to haul that one down. Moving in swiftly. Keeps it on the perimeter for Keith Cromwell, who is in the top 7 in scoring this year. You addressed it, how Ryan Boyle came to town and made so many of the Barrage better offensive players.
Joe, I questioned this Barrage team early in the year.
Shot clock down to 4. Garrity kneels to deny on Colsey. Philadelphia wisely trying to drain as much clock as possible. They're less than 4 minutes away from a championship. A team that was 1-11 last year. Sevilla walks it ahead for Dussault. Dussault has a hat trick today. It'll be time for him to get up and go. Rotelli had 4 in the semifinal win. He's been quiet this afternoon.
If you're Boston, you're not thinking 2-point shot quite yet. Still a lot of time. Both teams with their timeouts still in their pocket as well.
Here's the all-time leader in terms of 2-point shots in Major League Lacrosse, Mike Regan. He'll kick it to Evans. One more for Rotelli. Bang! Chris Rotelli.
Triangle passing by Boston. Starts up top with Regan. He draws the crowd. Evans finds Rotelli.
And this is a sizzler. High heat bringing Boston within 2. Professional sports fans in Philadelphia long starved for a championship. NHL, NBA, NFL, MLB. They may get one in MLL. Major League Lacrosse's New Balance Championship. 3 minutes away in regulation time for the Barrage in white.
Got to go back to 1983, the 76ers. Donnie Mack came close in the NFL last year.
Donnie Mack. That would be Donovan McNabb. Speaking of Syracuse, McNabb and Roy Colsey. Matt Strebel on the outside.
Probably shared a class together.
Batista running with Strebel. The pass gets away from Mike Mollett, and exactly what the Cannons needed. Coming up on ESPN2, the 104th U.S. Amateur Championship match. It comes from venerable winged foot Ryan Moore, the NCAA champion. The favorite against Luke List. Batista 4-2, shrugged away by Cotrano. That would have tied it.
That was a good save, Joe, a good save. Cotrano dropped the stick down low. He was beat. The high bouncer by Batista at the last second, raised up and got his face mask on it or his shoulder.
He got airborne there. He actually vaulted himself off the ground to knock that away. Just over 2 to go. Boston in blue with Fiore. Chris Fiore shuttling in against Ryan Moran. Plays his body well. Fiore is a tough cover. Evans kicks it for Regan. No, sir, against Catrano. Greg Catrano, the former MVP of the league. As we clue you into the New Balance scoring summary, Roy Colsey, a huge day. Catrano has been marvelous, and Boston has been held under wraps in the fourth.
That was a serious worm burner from Regan. Catrano just smothering it. And now look for Philadelphia to eat some clock here. They need to use the whole 45.
Boston lost just 4 times during the regular season, twice to Philadelphia. The Barrage are unfazed by the Cannons. Springer didn't give it up. Shot clock down to 14. The old cliche, time is the ally for Philadelphia. Colsey worming away from Silcott. Garrity went to the splits as Springer tried for an acrobatic goal.
But they get the reset, Joe. They get the reset. That's huge.
Just 60 seconds left in the game, 40 on the shot clock. Philadelphia in white.
Casio, if anything bad happens here, he may call timeout.
Blake Miller holding it away. Batista and Regan coming to him, trying to force the turnover. And now the Barrage will ask for timeout. 13-11, Philadelphia. It's nail-biting time for Sal Locascio. Mike Batista and the Cannons need a comeback, and they need it quick. The New Balance Championship game winding to its conclusion. Philadelphia by 2. We are headed for U.S. Amateur Golf on ESPN2 immediately following our game here in Boston. Chris Garrity along the end line was pressured and a quick timeout was asked for.
Garrity had possession. Hiller called timeout. It'll be Boston ball. 34 seconds to go, but they have to go the length of the field and then look for the 2.
You know, Quint, it has been a marvelous summer of 2004 in Major League Lacrosse. We have had so many of these games come down to the final seconds in the battle for the Major League Lacrosse Championship Trophy. You like to call it the Steinfeld Cup. Well, our chairman and founder is ready to hand it out.
Last year, he handed that trophy out to Long Island. It was an epic battle. Villanova, Pennsylvania, huge crowd, 7,500. This game went down to the wire. Sudden death overtime. Gilbert wins the face-off to Kevin Lowe. Long Island with their 2nd championship. That game, Joe, that game really kind of stayed with me. The competition that day, the rivalry between those two teams.
It was fantastic. They loved it in Villanova. They've loved it in Boston today, and we wish the best to Kevin Lowe, who suffered a season-ending knee injury during the campaign. Again, we are headed for U.S. Amateur Golf, the championship match. Ryan Moore, who plays collegiately at UNLV, and Luke List, who's on his way to being a Vanderbilt Commodore. 21-year-old Moore against the 19-year-old List at Winged Foot. And they've got some tough par 3s there, my friend.
They have par 3s. Boston needs it, too. Now look for Philadelphia to drop back a little here. They'll concede the clear, but then once Boston gets the ball on the offensive end of the field, they're going to contest the 2. They will stretch their defense to the max, deny the 2-point shot.
This is one of those Boston situations, and we saw it last week where the Cannons will put 9 short stick players on the field trying to generate offense.
Boston's going to need to set some picks up top to get the 2-point shot open. Create separation on top of the arc.
Fiore lugs the mail across, and there's a timing issue. As Fiore got across the midfield stripe, both coaches were yelping at the officials. Our officiating crew headed up today by Kevin O'Leary.
That was Kevin O'Leary and Matt Palem, the 2 officials in yellow.
Here in Boston, 32 seconds away from the end of our New Balance Championship Major League Lacrosse game, and just moments away from joining the U.S. Amateur, the 104th. What was it, 10 years ago that Tiger Woods won the first of his 3 in a row? Did that at TPC Sawgrass, if memory serves. The officials sorting through matters, and now a timeout will be asked for. Sal Locascio and his crew 2 points ahead with under a minute to go. Philadelphia by 2. Reminder once again about Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. It's a matchup of 2 teams still battling for the playoff spot. Manny Ramirez and the Red Sox meeting Maglio Ordonez and the White Sox. Coverage begins with baseball tonight. It's driven by GMC at 7 Eastern. Red Sox, White Sox, also available in Spanish on ESPN Deportes.
Deportes. Ramirez can go yard. As you take a look at the wild card race, pretty tight at the top. Boston, Texas, and Anaheim. And the Manny Ramirez right now for Boston would have to be David Evans with his ability to take that two-point shot. Scott Hiller tries to free up one of their guys for the two-point shot.
Eavesdropping inside the huddle.
If you have to get one, Mike, you can go to Connor. All right? Quickly. We got it. It's Mike, pick and roll. You can go back to Regan. David
Sounds like they're setting it up for Regan, Jim.
It's a rebound. We got to go.
It's important. If Regan's going to take the outsider, I would send a screen in front of Catrano and let Regan put one down on the carpet with a screen. Much more effective than when Catrano can get a good look at it.
Evans is always a two-point threat. Mike Regan has scored 6 two-point goals against Philadelphia in his career. 13-11 Barrage, the U.S. Amateur Golf Championship match between Ryan Moore and Luke List is just moments away. Batista dodging Polanco. Batista thought about it for 2. And he was undressed from the backside by Polanco. That huge takeaway may be what pushes Philadelphia to the title. Cromwell running for cover. Fallon looking for the takeaway. The Philadelphia Barrage, almost unthinkable that they would be a champion in 2004. Garrity, the full length of the field. 3, 2, Gill there, but not enough time. The Philadelphia Barrage. Sal Locascio, Jim Muley, Greg Catrano. Wonderful goaltenders all the way around. Our Bud Light MVP is the Catman.
7 straight wins. He can't believe it. We wrote him off midway through the year. Champions.
And Philadelphia says yes, sir, as Chris Garrity suffers the sting of defeat. Your final, Philadelphia 13 and Boston 11. It's been a copyrighted presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com.
The Boston Cannons Game of the Week is powered by Boston Sports Performance Center, where performance has no limits. BSPC is a premier sports performance, physical therapy, and sports medicine center serving the Boston and Metro West communities.
Cannons coming up a little short in this championship run, but what a miracle season it was for them that they just fell short to the Philadelphia Barrage. Scott Hiller, great coach, coaches out at Northwestern University now on the women's side with his wife Kelly Amante Hiller. Scott did a great job preparing these guys, and as they say in sport, they just really ran out of time. I feel like if they had some more time in this game, that they could have pulled this one off, finishing off 13-11. Hats off to Sal Locascio and his squad on earning this championship. Hope you enjoyed this game going back into the vault. We'll see you back at it next week.